good and you have read an article about the topic. Our topic today is about interviews, conducting interviews and focus group as part of the research. We have covered the design and we also looked at some of the basic ethics of research, qualitative research design, and looked at issues of perspective of marginalized group, women, youth, marginalized economically, race, ethnicity, and how our intersectionality of the identity can affect the design and the implementation of the qualitative research. We looked at differences between qualitative and quantitative research. And at this point, after 5 classes, we're beginning to go into the, I could say, the nitty-gritty, the tools of conducting qualitative research. You have done the first one, which is literature review in some ways. And today we will begin with the interview focus group, and then we do ethnographic, and we continue with the different tools. But today in the history and age of this class, it's an area where we start with the technical, specific data collection, specific tools we used, and you had 4 articles to read. One of them, as I said, about interviewing elite and how is that different from interviewing, let's say, average person. And then you had also an article about conducting interviews in a genocide or extreme violent context and issues of trust and how do you conduct the interview. And I think we also had the 2 chapters about from our main text about the different types of interviews, structured, semi-structured, or open-ended, closed-ended, and how do you design some of these issues. That's overall what we are doing, and this is also good for our guest to hear. So the main issue I wanted to not forget is really to introduce to you the interview assignment for next week. Sorry, for 2 weeks from now. I sent it via email to each one of you. You guys got it, right? Yes? Excellent. Any question, anything, but in very brief nutshell, as I said, please read it. Let me know if you have any question. In a nutshell, you need to find a person to interview who have lived in conflict zone area, or I even expanded it a little bit for you, or a practitioner like myself who have done some work in conflict zone area, and then you interview them about your own research question. You have to come up with a research question, a theme, a topic that you want. The interview 45 minutes to an hour, which is a long time, relatively speaking. Then you transcribe the interview, 5 pages out of it. And then you also analyze, reflect and analyze on the interviewing process. How did it go? What challenges? What did you find out? Not necessarily the content, but the experience of conducting an interview. And I tried to be as detailed as possible in the instruction. Any quick questions? Go ahead, Clayton.
Just to make sure I understand, so after when I read the instructions, did it mention that, at least my understanding, it was to have like a quick intro about who the person I interviewed, why, and then et cetera, something like that, or if I understood that correctly?
Yes, it is in the end of the instruction. Just put it in the introduction, in the title. I interviewed Abu Nimr on February 22, and then you do, male, professor, but without necessarily giving me the name. I don't need the name for confidentiality.
Okay, right, thank you.
Any inquiry? I'm happy to support you, help you, guide you if anything. Go ahead, Daphne, and then Laura.
If the person we end up interviewing is somebody we're already familiar and friendly with? Are you okay with quite a casual tone, even though we're talking about something more serious? Or do you like this to be very research focused, very formal and professional sounding?
It's your decision how to design the interview. As you saw from the class today, the reading, there are three types of the open-ended, informal interview, non-structured, non-structured interview, and then you have the semi-structured and formal, informal, and then you have the structured and formal interview. So you have to decide. So read the 2 chapters 4 and 5 from Berg and determine how you want to do that. But yes, you can interview people that you know, but they have to meet the criteria that they lived in conflict zone area, they experienced that conflict, they work in it as well. Laura.
I had the same question. I just wanted to know if we could interview family or if it was a conflict of interest.
No conflict of interest. Actually, could be a good chance to delve in details that family member did not tell you. And when you put the researcher hat, you might discover something in you. But obviously, you'll have to reflect on your own biases and how did you control them, how do you deal with your own emotional, which is the same stuff that we've been dealing with throughout the class as well. 2 more minutes for this section. Any other question? Is it clear, right? Yes? And good luck with it. Make sure that you also look at the resources at AU Center that can help you with the transcribing, because you do need to do the transcribing. During my age, which is very old, we use the phone recorder and then we stop it, move it. But now I guess there are some more technology, and I included that in the instruction as well. But it's fun to transcribe an interview. Excellent. So we will listen to our guest speaker, and then we'll take Megan and Madison presentation, and then we do the literature review, small group discussion, and whatever left of the time, we will look at the 2 chapters mainly that we have for the interview and respond to some of your questions. Since this is David Stelmach is our first speaker, all the ground rules the same. Respect, listen, write your questions. He doesn't mind if you ask him many questions. In fact, that would be good and engaging for him as well. But he would like to have at least 25 minutes or half an hour to share with you his design, his journey with doing the research in Rwanda, and then how he dealt with that. Meanwhile, write your question, and many of your questions can be derived from the readings of today. David Stelmach, born in Poland, and he is a Catholic priest, ordinated has his ordination in 2005. He has a PhD in theology at Adam Mickiewicz University, and since 2014, he teaches theology at the theology faculty at the same university in Poznan, a bishop secretary for mission acts in Archdiocese of Poznan, the same city, since 2020. And he also worked with responsible for pastoral care for U.S. soldiers at his own area in Poland. And since 2017, he managed a research on reconciliation in Rwanda after the 1994 genocide. And we are lucky to have him in the U.S. in Philadelphia area, because he came for 1 or 10 days trip to the region and presented his research in Catholic University, I believe, and he will be back to Poland, I think, shortly. So, David, thank you again, much appreciated, and the floor is yours.
Dear Professor, thank you very much for this invitation. Yes, it is right. I'm here now visiting United States for the first time, because last week I have presented the results of my researches on special invitation to Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C. And I'd like to share with you with my experience of researches that I have started in the middle of the 2017, and I was thinking that it will take me no more than 2 years, but it was like a journey and experience at the same time, because I discovered that I was quite aware that I will have some problems with those researches. Of course, I wasn't aware that there will be a lockdown because of the COVID. Well, nobody was aware about this. But it also very influenced on my methodology of my researches. So I'd like to attach now, is it possible to show presentation to support my speech? Professor, I don't see, I can't hear you.
Yes, I gave you permission to
Okay,
share your PowerPoint.
thank you very much. Because sometimes it helps to show it, and it will be much more easier to remember. Okay, do you see at this moment? Yes? Okay, thank you very much. So this is the front page, and the full name of my university is Adam Mickiewicz University. Is a famous Polish poet of the Romantic times of 19th century. So how it started? I visited Rwanda for the first time in 2017 with the project of the Youth Missionary Group, and we were helping to build a house for one family from the tribe of Batkwa. It is the smallest tribe, and as you know, the Rwanda is mainly gathered from two tribes, Hutu and Tutsi, and I think that I don't have to explain the whole context of the genocide between Hutu and Tutsi. And during their being there, I was planning to start my researches, but for the first time I decided to go with students for a very calm observation to see what are the possibilities for getting future results of my researches. So that's why we've spent this time on, let's say, informal cooperation, and we were working on building the house for one family as a help for the main workers, and it was a possibility to build not only the house but also to build a trust between us and the people who were lived there. And it also showed me how important it is to be with the regular people. Why? Because in country that is very hard experienced with a conflict, those people, regular people, they also bearing a trauma in their life, personal trauma. The whole country is living in trauma, and they very often expect to be treated like a normal people. And it was very discovering for me that that just to be with those people, treat them like normal people. And of course, in the first moment, I saw so strange reactions in myself, for instance, because where we were working on the building of this house, you can see this in the back of this picture. Yeah, we were helping the workers, but also we were very carefully watched by the whole community of people, because they were surprised that is how it's possible that somebody who is after the studies or during studies can work physically, and how it's possible that priest and religious sister is also possible to work physically. And also they were watching us because we were somebody who is interesting because we came there and we've been there. But also I was observing my own reactions. For instance, when I saw the machete that was used as a tool during the building to cut the bricks, for instance, I was really shocked because I had this idea of machete and to what it was used during the genocide. And it took me 2 weeks to use machete as a normal tool because I was aware about this, to what it was used, to killing people. But the first quite hard moments with the contact with the people, it was like 5 days, I think. And then we break the borders and we spend this time together like almost normal people. And what was then? After the building this house, we saw that we could help to the local society, and we supported some projects like food supplies, like supporting with education, to be there and to show that we want to help them just because there are people without any other expectations. And it helped to build a relation between them and us. And it was followed in next year. And in this 2018, I also tried to realize a primary survey. And those are a few examples to show you how simple life is looking there. For instance, we can find them bicycle taxi. And for instance, sometimes it was very important for me, for my researchers, how hard sometimes it is find the right border between city or village, because even though people live in there, they are not aware in which kind of the settlement they live. Is it still city or is still village? And on this picture you can see the picture that those guys, they are collecting water from the local well, but normally we could say that possibly they are living somewhere in the village, but it is the one of the parts at the outskirts of the Kigali, at the capital. So you can see how sometimes it is very hard to put right orders in our view, in our meaning, and it also influenced on my researches. Rwanda is very rich country, very green. Very often it is called as a Switzerland of the Africa, with a lot of green grass and with a very good soil to produce food in the future. And also we discovered that there is no matter the color of the skin, how much you have in your wallet. Every people, also children, they always are the same. They want to have play, they want to spend time in safety, and they want to develop the relations. And for instance, you can see two kinds or two tools or two kinds of playing. The old tire that is moved with the stick, and it was quite a common use by the children, and also the ball that was made of the dried leaves of the banana tree, and it was used just as normal. And I titled this as to be like a Ronaldo, because this boy, he was posing like a Ronaldo. So it showed that even if you are from very far, for instance, from Europe, from the club where Cristiano Ronaldo is playing, they are also in the zone of the influencing of the current pop culture. Spending time together, because we discovered that during our working, also the children were almost abandoned, and they wanted to somebody who would take care about them. and was also very important for us to discover that they are normal children, and for the children that we are also normal people, even if we are from the different part of the world. And now, going to the methodology. In 2018, I decided to start first preliminary survey with open questions. I asked about how do they see what the reconciliation is, where they live, how important reconciliation is for them, and many similar questions. But this, what I wanted to catch, it was the idea of naming of some concepts. So, how they see reconciliation, how they understand the meaning of a reconciliation, the importance of the reconciliation, and how do they see this in perspective of their own beliefs. And I wanted to know as many as it was possible, their own descriptions used with their own imaginations and the concepts of the local culture. Because it was the first survey, and in future, when I wanted to prepare a proper survey, I really wanted to have to propose closed questions, because if I possibly reach 1,000 questionnaires, I really wanted to prepare them in closed questions without any possible problems in the interpretation in the future. So this first survey, it was important to catch the meaning of the most important terms. So how it looked after. When I came from Rwanda for the second time, I had this preliminary survey, and together with students, we started analyzing and selecting answers in the right order, and finding the proposal of complete answers for the proper questionnaire. What was next? It took a few months, and then I started cooperating with the team of statisticians who were preparing. This team was from my university. They were specialized in preparing surveys, and when we prepared the proper survey, we sent it to Rwanda. And I was really convinced that my survey is really good. But it came back because in Rwanda sometimes it was very hard to accept it. Why? Because sometimes people didn't understand the meaning of the question. Another way, they also were asking, they also didn't want to answer from some questions because they treated them as a too much direct. And it also helped me to understand that people after trauma, they don't like to be asked just immediately, just in direct about their own opinions. And it helped to change the concept of the survey, because in the first moment in survey we put questions that they were addressed very generally. For instance, how do you think, how important is reconciliation for Rwanda as a country, for instance? And then from general point to direct point, it was moving into insight to help those people who were questioned during this survey to feel much more friendly and have more space, so-called space, and not to be pushed to answer on some uncomfortable questions. And so 3 times this survey was corrected and again sent to Rwanda. This is the one question from this proper survey. I asked, is it possible that we can talk about total reconciliation in Rwanda? And there were only 2 propositions of the answer. I think so, or I think not. Well, and mostly they didn't want to answer for these questions because they felt like pushed to the wall to answer. And people after trauma, they don't like to be pushed to the wall. They really want to have more, feel more space, to feel much more comfortable. But because I don't know what they really feel, how do they feel with the memories about this conflict. And it was a proposition that it came from Rwanda, from my cooperators, that there should be another one answer added. I think that is the process that is ongoing. And finally, 78% of people have chosen this answer. And afterwards, I see that it's really true, because it's really hard to say that they see total reconciliation in their country. Most of them, they see that this process is still ongoing. So now, after finishing this research, I see how very clever were those propositions and those signals from Rwanda. So it showed me also that to have some time and be prepared that this survey won't be done just as I planned for myself. And when I prepared the whole this survey, the COVID has started. But just before starting this researches, I had some observations that possibly I will have just only one and only chance for making this research. So I really have to be very careful and respecting the people who I'm going to ask. And also what I found that this research, it should be aimed to all of the people, because reconciliation after conflict is beyond divisions. There is no matter if you are a believer or not believer. Do you believe in Yahweh or believe in God of Christians or God of Muslims? All of people were touched by the trauma, and they all have the same needs about the reconciliation, and many observations will be similar. In Rwanda, there is something like official politics of the reconciliation. So it means that it's better to understand that the government is restricting this policy for itself. So it may be a little problem with those researchers. So also those researchers, they can be stopped in any moment, and it's good to have long time observation and learning of the local culture, because it is also important, especially when I want to finish my studies. How it was designed. In the spring on 2020, 2 years ago, I had 3 team leaders who prepared in total 20 cooperator students, and those students they were to go to question every person. And it was very important because sometimes people who were questioned didn't understand in the right way about what this question is and why he or she is asking them. And also, I found it in the results. As an example, I can tell that there was one moment when we realized that we got 15 questionnaires that they had the same answers in every of these 15 questionnaires. The only difference was with the age that was marked, but all the questions were the same. So we have to throw it because it wasn't possible to accept. So yeah, the things like that were also happening. Or sometimes we wanted to have answers much more direct, and they weren't direct just as we wanted to have. And also we had to reject those answers because they weren't completed. So how lockdown helped us with this, because I couldn't go to Rwanda because of the lockdown and stopping the travels. In Western world, it came like stay at home, don't meet other people, preserve others from infection, and reduce and minimize all of your contacts, personal contacts. But in our houses and our apartments, we have a lot of places and methods of the spending free time. But not in Rwanda, where their house is only for sleeping. And also, if they don't go out from their house, they don't have possibility of getting money, of earning money. So this lockdown, when they were closed in their houses, in their villages, also they couldn't leave their own village without special permission. So they lost the chance to earn money. And I also paid for fulfilling of every questionnaire. It was about $2.50 per one questionnaire. So it was shared between the student who was questioning and also about person that was answering. And those students who couldn't study in the moment of the strict lockdown, they were questioning in their own place of living. So they were in different parts of the country, and they were questioning in their own villages, cities, or other places. So in the first moment, I have collected 400 questionnaires and it stopped. And I don't know why it couldn't go farther. But maybe people were afraid. Maybe they didn't believe that it's really important. I don't know still. But I was using different ways of contact with the local leaders to find people to speak, to conduct further those researches. And this is one of the examples with a conversation via WhatsApp with the one candidate to be somebody who will be making direct conversations and fulfilling questionnaires. And I think the most important is here. Why this person was very afraid about cooperation with me, because he was aware that it is restricted to the government and it is treated as a political topic. So this person was very afraid, and as you can see here in this final point, working without permission of the government, especially here in Rwanda, is not allowed. And and it was like that. And what about permission for my researches? Well, I will finish. Well, it is a good moment to say about this. It is also the issue of the local culture, because people of Rwanda, if you are asking of something, for instance, show me the way when I can find the main square of the city, or maybe local shop or whatever, or hotel. So those people, they are very pity if they would say you no. They rather will show you the road, will be with you. They rather even lie to you in the front of you than say you no, I don't want to help you. It is the part of their culture. If somebody is asking for the help, do everything what you can do to help this person. Even if you don't know, try to be with this person. Maybe you will find together the way out of this situation. So it was like that when I started these researches. Also, I asked in the same time. I asked for the permission of the local government, and when was the final meeting, my person in Rwanda, my cooperator in Rwanda, for getting this permission, it was always concluded like that. Oh, I have this permission for you, but I have forgotten to take this with me. I forgotten to print this paper, or oh, this paper was damaged because something terrible happened. And always there were answers like, well, I just wanted to give you this, but something interrupted me to do this. So it was 8 tries. It took almost 1 year of different meetings. And finally, there was no answer. So, what was the conclusion? Generally, people wanted to help, but they really personally was afraid to give his own face, or to give he or she personal signature under the paper, because they were afraid of losing job, or maybe they were afraid about the, other problems. So that's why I made these researches without official permission. But whatever is very important, nobody told me no. Nobody forbade me. So sometimes with cooperating with the local cultures, it's good to read between the lines. They won't give you green light, official permission, but also those people, they will be, let's say, blind on one eye. If nothing terrible happened, they won't interrupt you. Of course, they will be observing you, they will be assisting you, but sometimes it is that the fortune favors the bold. So the last moment of my researches, it was like that when finally my cooperators a year ago at the spring, they give me a sign that we can start another term of the researches. And to September we collected 1,222 correctly fulfilled questionnaires. And from September to January this year, they were under the process of analysis and getting the results by the team of statisticians. Who was gathered in this project? The Society of Rwanda. This is the term when it was done, from April 2020 to August, more or less, 2021. It was the final costs of my researches. Half of this amount was given from my university, and another half was taken from my personal funds. You know how it is. There is one moment when you have some money from university, and you see that researchers, they are going well, and your cooperators are waiting for money for the job what they did. So at this moment you don't count, just you send money and trying to get it. And also we organized the humanitarian and social aid at the amount of the $10,000. It was sent through the 4 years from different sources. I was talking about this 8 tries because we had no possibility of getting a sampling frame. So we worked with the special selection of those groups where my cooperators, students, they could get, and they were working in different parts of the Rwanda. Who helped me in the place? There were the university studies, local priests, Rwandan priests, also Polish missionaries, because I had contact with them, and they were working in those places they were where they could get. And finally, there was more than 1,300 questionnaires, but we got the 2022. The proper survey was made in the form of a scale. Well, if somebody is interested, then I can send you this survey and show how it was built. Directly, it was the questions were printed in English, and students were translating to them every person to the local language in Ikinyarwanda. That it was possible to understand for those people who had some problems with understanding English language. So, and finally, what is also very important, how technology helped me, because the questionnaires were in Rwanda. So the one full questionnaire, it was 4 pages. So it was made a photo of every page. Then it was put together in one file, or sometimes it was just a 4 photo, and sent via WhatsApp. And then I was collecting this in one file, checking always every time, and then put into one digital file, and then sending to my statistician team. So it is possible, even with WhatsApp, even with people who are not very friendly with the technology, and sometimes we had to work over the methodology of sending those photos of the surveys, because the difference of time, it wasn't so clear. As an example, I can say that sometimes I was doing something different, and now I see on my phone that there is the whole torrent of different pictures, and everything is mixed. And And I say, well, what the heck? What is going on? How now? How I can put in the right order? Stop! Please stop sending. And I was asking this person to send it again to me. First, as a one questionnaire, so it was 4 photos. Then put one, for instance, one word afterwards to separate this in the whole conversation of WhatsApp. And again, 4 photos of one questionnaire, 1 word. Sometimes this person was...
Sorry, David.
Yeah?
Sorry to interrupt, but if you can conclude in 2
Okay.
minutes, so we can have time for some of the technical
Okay.
questions.
So it is the final, but I think is really important. So we had to prepare a special method for sending of those questionnaires. And even if somebody is not friendly with the technology, it is possible, because just send the one questionnaire, 4 photo, 1 word. Again. But sometimes when this person was sending me 100 questionnaires, it was like a work for 2 days all the time. It took 2 days, and really was very hard. But well, it is somehow that it comes like that. Well, so I think that is mostly about the methodology and getting the information. Thank you for attention.
Thank you very much, David. Much appreciated. If you can take out the Excel, the PowerPoint, then I can do the full screen, and then we can see our...
Okay, yes.
Thank you again for taking the time and sharing this. The floor is yours, guys. We have about 20 some minutes. Feel free to pose your question directly.
That was not a question for me. I was just applauding.
Thank you, Daphne. The applaud is on behalf of all of us for thank you. Absolutely. Any question, any comment, any remark? You guys read 4 articles that exactly relate to the experience of David for today. Go ahead. Yes, Sarkis. Thank you for starting the chain. Go ahead.
I was just wondering if you could maybe tell a little bit more how your role with the church specifically reflected on relationships you had and built with people.
Well, it's not strict connected with the topic of this research, but it helped me to understand better the role of the church and how the church and the local priest were involved in the whole process. And we always have to remember that the tribe of Hutu is something about 85% of the population of Rwanda. So also you can see this in the church, Catholic Church, and all the other churches like the Anglican Church or different denominations. That is more people from Hutu than from Tutsi. What is also very important, we have to remember that we cannot speak about the Hutu and Tutsi in Rwanda because it's forbidden. It's possible only on the anniversary of beginning of the genocide, on the 6th of the April, and when it's commemorized. But it's impossible to ask anybody, are you Tutsi, are you Hutu? Yeah, and also with reflecting to priests. And what is very important, everyone in Rwanda is involved now in reconciliation. Every organization, every church, of course, government, and every type of organization is doing something for their conciliation, and also it was a lot of done because of these organizations. So for my own eyes, I've met with some people who are working in the church, also Catholic Church, in different way. And for instance, I think that very important are two kinds of help. One is pastoral work, especially in retreat houses and local sanctuaries, where people are trying to overcome their personal trauma, because it's quite common in Rwanda that survivors of the genocide, they still live in the same place with their former oppressors, and they hardly speak about this situation, because very often they don't know how to speak about this when somebody was very harmed by other person. And when I visited once one sanctuary, possibly it was in Ruhanga, I think, where is Divine Mercy Sanctuary. There was a church where was the adoration of the Blessed Sacrament, and there was something about 12 or 15 persons in the church. Some of them, they were sitting in silence, another were kneeling, some of them, they were prostrating. And some of those persons were very silent, some were mourning, others were crying in voice loudly. And it was very moved, because you could say that there is nothing done. There was nothing doing in the church. Nobody was speaking. But when I was observing those people, I see how they are trying personally to work over the trauma. And it was in pastoral religious way. And sometimes it is helpful. But many situations, as another reason, it doesn't work. And another example is the movement that is called and is brought from France, Foyer de Charité, that it was founded by the mystic Martha Robin, and their main reason to work with the traumatized people is to help them in different ways. So sometimes it is the pastoral work, and sometimes it is the help of the therapists. And in any situations, they sometimes need support of somebody who is friendly with who is attorney, for instance, who can help in the court. And
David, sorry to interrupt again, but can we also take a few other questions, and then maybe you can come back to this? So I want to make sure that we get as many questions as possible. Thank you. Go ahead. Anybody else?
You have to understand me, because I'm really involved in this situation, and it became a part of my life.
Other observation, other questions? Yes, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious how you decided, you obviously talked about the pay structure between the interviewer and the interviewee. Could you just kind of walk us through how you decided to pay people in general, and why you decided to split the payment?
Thank you. That's a very good question. Before David, we go, let's collect a few more questions.
Okay.
And then we'll see what we have to work with. Other people, go ahead. And I'm going to push the gender equality, so we don't have Sarkis and Chris only. No pressure. Yes, Elizabeth, please go ahead.
I feel like it's possible you touched on this in your presentation. First of all, thank you very much for presenting. I thought it was really fascinating. But I was just wondering if you felt like you said you didn't get much results just because there are a lot of people who maybe were nervous about the government and political issues, issues with jobs. But I was just wondering if you thought that COVID skewed results, like if you do feel like you would have gotten different results if there hadn't been COVID, and do you feel that attitudes may have changed based on the situation of the pandemic?
Thank you, Elizabeth. And that's really the impact of COVID on the results and the administration of the research. Some more questions?
I have a question. I'm just curious, you talked a little bit about how you had issues with the government agreeing to your research. At what point did you realize kind of that you needed to find a different route to find the results that you wanted?
Excellent, yes. Others? Okay, well, thank you. So I think we have 4 entries here, at least, David. So you want to respond to them? If you want to try to make it a brief to each one of them would be great.
Okay.
So you have the 3 of them, actually, that how you administer the payment, and also the COVID impact, and the government permission, at what point you decided to deal with that and how.
Okay. About the splitting the payment, well, things about the amount, I decided to split this 50 to 50 because it was really, I also saw that all of those people were looking for ways to earn money. And if their normal ways of earning money were closed, so I wanted to help to the both sides. And I decided to split this, to the one and to the other side. So I don't know if it is the best way, but I knew that it will be quite just way to help to those who will be working with them as those who will be fulfilling the surveys, and those who will be answering to the surveys. And it was really hard time in Rwanda, and I had quite limited funds, so I couldn't give more. But I tried to manage with these funds in that way to help to the largest number of people who would be involved in this research. COVID impact. It's hard to say. Well, I think that finally it helped in technical way, because people who couldn't go to work, they were in the houses, and it was easier to speak with them and to propose them this way of working. Maybe the one thing about this, why I wanted to make in this time these researches, because I wanted to catch the very unique moment where still are living the survivors of the genocide, because it is one generation after, and when are people who were born after the genocide, who didn't see this this genocide on their own eyes, but they also have trauma passed by their parents, by their grandparents. So I wanted to catch the moment how it is valued by survivors and non-survivors. And I really had no any other option, because COVID just came in the moment when I was starting my research. And I could say, okay, I'm stopping this. But there was big pressure also from Rwanda of people who trusted me, who wanted to help, and who didn't only want to earn money. There's quite a few people who were born after the genocide, and they see that there is something wrong with the society, and they really want to help to understand it. And that's why I saw, a lot of situations, different situations, also real people who trusted me. And I also saw this impact of COVID, and I'm also questioning myself how it would be if COVID wouldn't happen. I don't know. Really, I don't know. But it was really within struggle to decide doing this or not doing. And finally, I really think that it was better to do these researches in this time. And the last question: how did it impact on my relations with the government? I personally, I don't know, because I haven't visited Rwanda since this moment, and I don't know if I get, for instance, the block of permission to go to Rwanda. I don't know. I know that the local intelligence is working well. But how it impact on my researches and the results of my researches, I think it is related with the personal attitude of every person who helped me in these researches. And also those researchers showed me that even though there is a lot of problems, there is always a few persons who really are dedicated to help to get the whole truth outside, to show the truth as much as it is possible. And at this moment, please understand me well. I really appreciate this all what local government done for the reconciliation. Remember that at the end of the genocide, they had whole country with 1 million of corpses. And they had to do something radical to start normal life. And they pushed the whole society to normal life, to making to fix the relation, to start normal life again. All of the organizations were involved in this situation. I have one question. I have one example about the church. Local administrator from the Vatican, who was then Archbishop Henryk Hozer, Polish man, he advised to local bishops to stop celebrating sacraments for 3 months. And I know this from him personally, from Archbishop Hozer, because he wanted to give a strong sign that we should stop normal life and show that we are starting from beginning. And what local bishops from Rwanda done? No. We cannot do like this. We will be doing in our way. And they didn't hear the advice of the representative of the Holy See. So there were different ideas for starting life for new. And local government has done a lot of things and to start new life in Rwanda. And of course we can agree with this or disagree, but they have done something. And the last final thing, I'm from country that was communist for the 45 years after Second War. We had the idea of reconciliation in my country. But we have spoken a lot over this subject. But we have done nothing. Nothing, completely nothing on reconciliation of my society. And I see how my society is now divided. In Rwanda, they did a lot. And that's why the example of Rwanda is very important for the other countries.
Thank you. Thank you. Please join me in thanking David from Philadelphia. And I know you've been traveling and I know you've been giving presentations. Much appreciate the time that you took with us. Although we only had 40 questions, but those relate to the heart of the matter that we're dealing with. Your insight regarding the difficulty and the uncertainty of conducting a survey and research as an outsider in genocide context is really a source of both learning, and really one can reflect on it as a young junior researcher also in this class who wants to pursue such a career. Most important, your example at the end, I think, reflect the compassion and the passion that motivates you to work in this area. And it is rarely that we find researcher who's involved in humanitarian aid and development at the same time with missionary work and interested in research. So much appreciated for bringing this experience. And I wish you a very safe trip and a relaxed time in Philadelphia. Enjoy it. Enjoy your first trip to America, to the United States, actually. And hopefully we will be in touch next week, inshallah, David. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this possibility. And well, if you have any reflections after this meeting, please just send me, because sometimes it comes a few weeks after. And I see that without help of other person, with my students, of the team of statisticians, I wouldn't be able to do these researches. It's really important to have a team of people who really wants to help you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if you don't mind, I can share the email with them.
Yes, of course,
in
please.
The chat later on, if anyone wants to be in touch with you as well.
Thank you very much.
Have a good one. If you were in the class, I would accompany you to the door, but here I cannot. So
okay. Thank you very much. I found this small red button, and I think it wasn't any problematic.
That's our door.
Okay. Have a nice and pleasant classes further. Thank you very much. Bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.